Hello, hello, hello. We are live.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another lovely episode of Beyond the Sum of Our Parts. As
Yay.
always, got the lovely ladies Jordan and Reese with me, and we have a special guest today. Your name is.
Yay.
Erica de Cordova. Hi, guys. How are you?
That was a
Hello,
mouthful, that last
hello.
part, but we're going to call it Erica for short. Um,
Okay.
so we're doing our second part two version of what is it again, Jordan?
Navigating the no contact decision.
Yes, for all of us that are suffering that whole issue of navigating no contact with family members, friends, people that are dear to us, we're still doing another part of it, and we feel like we need to communicate it. So this is why we have Miss Erica. Yeah, Erica. Okay. So with that being said, Jordan, how do we lean in?
So, to start off, I would just like to take a moment and invite you, Erica, to share a little bit about your background and how you became
Sure.
interested in navigating this topic.
Yeah. So originally, I got a uh, bachelor's in rehabilitation therapy, and so God had another plan. So went back to school, got my bachelor's and master's in psychology, and um, excuse me, got my bachelor's and master's in psychology, and so now I'm practicing as a clinical mental health therapist, specializing in family trauma. So been doing that for like 2 years. 2 years. Been doing pro bono work. I don't know, for like five.
Nice.
So it's just really something I'm very passionate about because I just feel like as people go out into the world and they show up in work and relationships and all these different environments, you are definitely, a reflection of how you were raised, your family trauma, and so it really does affect, how you show up in the world. So I just wanted
Yeah.
to be a part of helping people kind of heal through that.
That is awesome. Well, thank you for sharing and leaning in with us today. We
Of
truly
course.
appreciate your professional perspective.
You're welcome.
So then into our first official question. So in your experience, like what are some patterns or dynamics that you've observed when it comes to the decision to go no contact?
So it varies. I mean, obviously, the first would be, some type of severe trauma. So that could be, a violation, of family members. So talking, rape, incest. We're talking, um, I don't know, financial, mishaps in the family. There's a lot of different ways I see that. Um, a lot of times, I will also see. Family members who unfortunately experience mental health issues, such as like bipolar, schizophrenia, dissociative identity disorder, like those things. Their family members are, and a lot of times it's undiagnosed.
Yeah.
So their family members are just literally like, this person's crazy. I can't tolerate them. We're not going to talk. Sometimes it's abandonment. Sometimes, your parents don't want to be parents, and so they abandon or leave their children, and so there's a lot of abandonment issues, and a lot of no contact or unforgiveness falls in there. So like I said, it's just really a lot of difference. I mean, it could even be religion. I've seen some clients
Yeah.
where their family push um, their belief systems on them to the point where their lifestyles are completely different, and so they're constantly judged and ridiculed and all of that, and they're just like, you know what, my life is a lot easier if I don't talk to you.
Right.
So it just could be from a lot of different standpoints.
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of the what we you covered a lot of the things that we talked about in our
Mhm.
last episode, a lot of the reasons that, people made decisions to go no contact. So
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so then with that, how do you approach supporting your clients who are like on the fence, trying to figure out whether to make that decision?
Yeah, well, a lot of times when they come in, sometimes obviously if they're coming in, it's a cry for help, right? They're trying to figure some way to kind of deal with it. And so my approach when they first come in is to ask them, are you serious about this? Because this is going to be work, right? Because, working through it and forgiveness, or whatever the situation is, it's going to be a choice that you're going to have to get up every morning and make every single day, no matter what happens. So I try to make sure that they're serious about what they want to do. And then we just kind of work through, because like I said, everyone's different. We kind of work through what that looks like. So I'll give you an example. So if I have a client who, I don't know, let's say, I don't know, what's a really bad one. Um, let's just say abandonment. Let's say the mother abused the child and abandoned the child, right? And so the young lady is now trying to level out and kind of heal from that, and the mother is wanting to come back as if nothing happened, right? And so that's offensive, to ignore that type of, like, abuse and trauma. So I would just basically kind of like guide her into, is this really at the core of you what you want to do?
Right.
Yes or no. She's going to say yes. And then we work through, what that's going to look like on a day-to-day basis. I don't like to play games with my clients in regards to, um, I like to leave space. So listen, if you have a bad day, because this is a process, and you may be triggered more one day than the next day. So you got to give yourself some grace, in how you respond, in the moments. So, I just like to set up, okay, hey, I tell them to keep a little journal for me, or write this down for me, right? So say you have contact with your mother. So she could say your mother calls, and I'm going to say, okay, I want you to limit that phone call to about 5 minutes. Okay. And I want you to, if you feel her, kind of trying to basically like roll over top of that conversation, I want you to get control of that conversation.
Right.
She called you, right? And so we're working on you controlling how she's communicating with you. A way to do that is taking dominance over a phone call, even if it's 5 minutes, right? That could simply be, listen, I got to give the kids to soccer. What do you need? You know what I mean? Let her, help her get to her point so she's not walking you around a tree.
Right.
It's just helping the client to get their power back in that situation, right? 5 minutes, she hangs up. So she might write in her journal, I was PO'd. This lady had the nerve to call me. But you know what? I was proud of myself that I like stuck to that 5 minutes and I got off the call or whatever. And so the next time she might even call you. So might call you 3 days later and say, do I have 5 minutes? And like, actually, yes, you do. I need to get the kids like dinner. So what do you need? But like I said, you're teaching the person how to deal with you. So just little things like that. I like to empower my clients. I mean, it's a ton of different ways, but I like to keep it playful and just like, get just to empower them. So they're like,
Right.
yes, that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something, Reese. Okay. Yeah.
You look like you had a whole lot to say. You just
Oh, I like the aspect of taking control, because so often in those situations when that person is reaching out for help, it's because you don't have any control. You don't
Yeah.
have any
Yeah.
control, and you don't know what else to do, right? You either feel like it's your fault, and so you're internalizing and you're blaming, or you're so fed up you just want to cut it all off completely. And I guess this is a good way to talk about, like, going no contact isn't a 0 to 1,000 move, right? There's
Mhm.
steps in between, and there's not only steps in process, but steps emotionally and steps mentally that have to happen to prepare you for that. Because giving up a parent, because that's essentially what it is, cutting off a parent
Yeah.
in a no contact with a parent situation, or a brother or sister or whatever,
Yeah.
that is
your child.
yeah, it's traumatizing. It's
But
hard,
but the
and
thing
so you
about
have
it
to be
is,
mentally prepared.
yeah, but the thing about it, really, Reese, is you always have control, right? It's what you give other people control
Mhm.
of, right? And so you will never be out of control. You dictate who calls you, where you go, what you put on, who you speak to, who you do not speak to. When your emotions get involved, I tell people all the time, when trauma hits a person, it affects their autonomic nervous system, right? So that basically affects their cognitive, their emotions. So they're all over the place, right? They're in fight or flight all over the place, right? And so when you are in contact with somebody who traumatized you, you immediately kick up. right? And so
Right.
you start to feel like a little helpless, like, I'm so tired of this. I can't. Uh. That's why I said I like to empower my clients, because the misconception of I have no control over how this person makes me feel is a
Mhm.
whole lie. It's a whole lie. You absolutely do have control, right? I'm teaching you how to get it back. That's all I'm doing, right? And so once I give you the skills, go and do your thing, and by the time you finish with this person, I'll be like, dang, like, this person is not responding the way that I want them to respond so I can get my way. Or this person is not, letting me manipulate them. What's happening? What's going on? Right? Because
Consequences.
exactly, because you took the power back.
Right.
All you're doing is taking it off the table. They're like sharks that smell a drop of blood in the water. All you're doing is removing the blood. That's it.
Mhm.
Right.
Are you talking, Mike?
Good analogy. You can't remove the blood in the water,
Right?
though.
You
You hear
can,
that?
but you understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's like
No, I totally get what you're saying. What you're saying is reminds me of an interesting, dog trick. Spray the water bottle.
who
No,
in a water bottle?
no. Well, spray bottle just no. You can't. 5 minutes. I said 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Please don't
That,
spray anybody with a water bottle, okay? They might press
nah, I
charges.
used to do. Listen, I ain't gonna lie. I used to listen. It's bad now. I might get in trouble, but I used to do that with patients that were acting up, and I was like, no. I said, stay in the bed, sir. You
Don't
cannot move.
say that.
Well,
You
no,
were
no,
spraying your patients with water bottles?
I
What?
no.
literally hope you're
Saline
lying.
solution.
You can't.
Saline
Ha
solution.
ha ha! Because Mike would never
Stop
do that.
moving.
Because we're on the air. So,
Stop
anyways,
moving.
On that note, circling back around, that what you mentioned brings us back to something that I talked about in our last episode about boundaries. Like, boundaries
Yeah.
aren't meant to keep the world out, they're meant to
Yeah.
dictate how you're going to respond to the world, right?
For sure.
And so, with
Exactly.
that being said, I can't control what all the craziness is going on around me, but like you
Yeah.
said, I can control how I respond to it and how I allow the craziness around me to
Yeah.
affect me. And
Yeah.
so, that's the difference between, boundaries and everything else. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to shut the world out. You just have to figure
No.
out how to deal with it.
so let me ask
Totally.
you both
Yeah.
a question. Because between Erica and Jordan, you guys have very unique but similar perspectives. And so when you say shut the world out, I'm a very like how-to person, right? It took me forever. When somebody says, "Oh my God, just forgive," I'm like, okay, but how? Like, I don't understand what that means, right?
Yeah.
So going with the you control how you respond, right?
Yeah.
How? Because like for in my situation,
Mhm.
that person is the one person who can make me go from zero to completely off my square and out the side of my neck
Mhm.
in like milliseconds, because they push all the buttons on purpose, right?
Yeah.
And I know one technique I heard was like, when they start to do that, like listen to all the sounds around you, like try to listen to a clock tick or try, right? So but to me that's disassociation, which I can ignore somebody, but that to me doesn't address me controlling how I feel or the situation I find myself in. Are there
So
better tips?
so let me give you another way to approach it. So instead of dissociation, tack in anticipation, right? So anticipate the disrespect, anticipate it, right? Expect it, right? Um, so in the Bible, God says like it's impossible for offense to not occur, right? Which means somebody is going to offend you, right? So God is basically saying expect it, right? Almost like welcome it. Be prepared, be on your toes, right?
Okay.
So instead of disassociating, and again, Reese, it's literally about taking back her ability to trigger you, because she's not triggering you, allowing her to do that, right?
Mhm.
Only
Mhm.
because she's not responding the way that you want her to, right? She's not. And at the end of the day, there's some other things that are taking place, right? That's not connecting for her, right? That doesn't have anything to do with you, right? But at the end of the day, you have total control over how you respond to another person. So anticipate. So boom, she's on the call, right? She's getting spicy, right? So how do you respond? You know what? Get to the point, Reese, where you're like, watch this. Watch this. Look at me, Karen.
Mike, Mike, you got just hang up.
Right? What
No,
so
I totally agree with that. Anticipation.
right. Well, because at the end of the day, it's going to happen, right? It's going to
Right.
happen. Like I said,
Really.
I just am a firm believer in this is, this is your loved one at the end of the day, and I don't believe in closing doors because I believe God can do anything. Okay.
Amen.
I,
Amen.
I believe that
Not
God
Jordan
can
doesn't
do,
believe that part, but she's
but
yeah.
it's
I do
but
in a way, just not the same verbiage. But go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
But it's all in, it's timing. And here's a lovely thing about it, Reese. If she called you tomorrow and she was talking differently, there would be a part of you, your subconscious, that wouldn't believe her. Because at the end of the day, no work has been done for her to get to a place where she's sincere, right?
Right.
And she doesn't
Hmm.
get it. So that's why I said you're gonna have to anticipate until, right? And only know, like, anybody knows what until looks like. So that's why I said there has to be boundaries, right? Because 5 minutes, 3 minutes, you know what, I'm not talking to her on the weekend because I'm trying to rest mentally, physically. Like,
Right.
I'll talk to her when I finish taking the kids to school. She got 5 minutes, what's up? You know what I mean? And that's
Exactly.
it. And
Right.
let it be that. Put her in a box that you open when you feel like it, right? However, you have to leave space for God to do what he's going to do in his timing.
Yes.
Yeah. So
In the box.
if well, and guess what? But she's in there. She's not thrown out, right? She's not denied, right? Because at the end of the day, Reese, if God sees fit for him to reconcile that relationship, you have to be
He will
postured
do
to it
so.
too. And so you're on your healing journey.
Mm.
So you need space to heal, right? I don't believe it's I tell people, don't you can't cry on a battlefield, right? You cannot cry on a battlefield. So if you're constantly going to war with her and you haven't created any space or any boundaries for you to set yourself up to heal. Oh, I
Right.
just got wounded. I just got stabbed. I need to heal. Hold on, right? If you keep letting her stab you, right, you're not going to heal. So if
Mhm.
God sees fit to heal her and you're still not healed, you're still not going to be receptive to that.
Yep.
So
Right.
that's why I said set them boundaries, girl. Set them boundaries and anticipate it. Just set a timer to it. I can only tolerate
Like
this for three
So does
minutes.
that mean you more advocate for low contact than no contact? Because that's kind of what I'm hearing.
So low contact in that type of situation. No contact when there's abuse, when there's, and that's financial abuse, that's emotional abuse, that's physical abuse, because that can get really, 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 really bad. But
hmm
this is a type of situation where like I said, there's some other, psychological things that are happening that she's not willing to address, right? And there's nothing you can do about it. But like I said, God can do, I have seen him do wild things. Okay. So I always say until you feel otherwise, give her 3 minutes, give her 2 minutes. But those other areas, like I said, everything is different. But those other areas, the physical, emotional, financial abuse, no ma'am. That's a hard no. That's a like line in the sand. No. Because at that point you're putting yourself in like a different type of danger.
Right.
You can still
And
love everybody. You can still be there for them. But like I always say, they are going to be who they are. You see them,
Yeah.
act accordingly. And when I say act accordingly, I don't mean tit for tat. I mean, you know who they are. You know how they're going to act. Act accordingly. Be prepared for that. And just be like she say, take control of the
Yeah.
situation. I was so in the same situation. Family members wants to talk to you, but all they want to do is dredge up things to make you mad. Hey, 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 stop. Wait a minute. Shh. Are you done? Are you done? Okay. Okay. And then, like, listen. So, if we're not gonna have a positive discussion,
Yeah.
lose my number. Don't call me. Now, I'm letting you know. I will be here for you to talk. I'll be here to support. These are the terms. You can either follow or not. Just know my phone will never hit. You will never be blocked on my phone. Just know when you start talking raspy, and I already done told you, you know, okay. It's nothing wrong with that. It's easier said than done,
It
but
is.
it's also it's definitely also within the process of you within yourself putting in that work too to like take that time to heal then so it doesn't trigger you. Prepare yourself mentally, you know what I mean? Because you already know how the verbiage is gonna play out. You're gonna say this, they're gonna act like this.
Yeah.
It's chess. They're family. You love them. I get it. We're not throwing people away. Although I'm not a fan of throwing them away, more like recycling them because that means they got to get clean, washed, and then come back. But That's how I look at it, because I don't block anybody away. I just tell them what it is, and if you choose to hit me up, I pick up the phone like nothing ever happened. Hey, how you doing? Hey, you remember? No, you know what I mean? It's just like real quick, like
Well, Mike, can I
just
ask you a
in and over
question?
time.
Can I ask you a
Hmm.
question? So,
Absolutely.
so what if you have a family member who's done their work on their end,
Hmm.
right? And they're calling you and they're bringing up the topic, but they're bringing up the topic in a posture of
Yes.
humility, in a posture of
And
humility. Are you open to hearing that?
we're open to hearing it. Absolutely. And once again, it all depends upon the
Yeah,
delivery.
yeah, yeah.
Now, if
Like,
you're
yeah, for
now,
sure.
in the positive, if you want to talk about it to rehash it out so we can squash it
Mhm.
and so we can both heal,
So
absolutely.
you're open
Your
to hear
delivery,
them take
yeah,
ownership. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
the delivery, taking the ownership is like you and like while it may be hard, and you got to
Yeah.
do the right thing and be like, I understand and thank you.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with saying I'm gonna still need time to get over it. I'm gonna still need time to process this
Yeah.
information, but and show them the appreciation, and show them that you appreciate the fact of the work they put in, the
Yeah.
effort they put in, because it's not easy to basically be that person and make that step,
Oh, for sure.
because your pride is going to get in your way.
Yeah.
All the little negativities. Oh, the negative things that you tell yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, you look like a B word and this, that, and the
Yeah.
third.
Yeah.
Oh, they choking you. All of that negativity is going to come in for anybody, and it's hard for them themselves to even come to that point. But they know they have to ignore that voice
Yeah.
and to make right with you. And the fact that they're doing that is something to be appreciated and in a form celebrated,
Yeah.
because that is needed.
Well,
You know what I
I
mean?
will say this, a change, or apology rather, and somebody coming to you like in a humble posture, it doesn't mean reaccess, right? It doesn't
Mm-mm.
mean
Exactly.
I re-give you access to me in the way that we used to or we're comfortable, because at the end of the day, boundaries and trust has been broken and violated. So
Yep.
that's going to be a personal choice, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's just really important to remember. Mike, I love that you said that. Like, you're like, I totally appreciate you taking the time and doing the work, and that you came to me and apologized. And I humbly accept that. But again, and you don't even have to communicate. It doesn't mean reaccess. You just take
Hmm.
your baby steps, because at the end of the day, it's
That's
still
it.
what you're comfortable with.
That's
So
I
yeah,
it.
appreciate that conversation. I appreciate the taking the ownership, but for
yeah,
me,
yeah,
I need to see changed behavior.
yeah,
Well,
My
see,
problem
but that's the
is
thing,
so
and it's going to
often I
take
keep
time,
hearing the words. I keep hearing the words, but
yeah,
there's no
but
action
no
behind it.
action.
Hmm.
And
yeah.
Hmm.
so for me
And
now,
that,
what has happened is your words are empty.
Well,
I hear it, I see
yeah,
the
let me give
tears,
you some
and I hear the
encouragement.
words. But as soon as those tears dry up and you
Yeah,
stop talking, we're
yeah.
back to the same situation.
Right.
Well, let me
Right.
give you some encouragement. So someone saying something to you is fantastic. God bless you. But actions that don't follow that, even God says, do not believe, okay, somebody versus what they say. Their actions should be their actions and their words should be syncing. They should be locked in together, right? Somebody says they love you. Okay, well, what does that look like? Right? That looks like you supporting, that looks like you helping, that looks like you honoring, that looks like you respecting, right? All of those things. That's what love is. So if you say that and you're doing the opposite of that, then there's a disconnect, right?
Right.
So I want to
yup.
support you in you saying, "Hey, I hear you, but nothing about your behavior or the way that you
Right.
interact with me is communicating that,
Change.
Right. Right.
right,
Right.
at all."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You continue to stay in your ground, continue to stay on
1000%.
business, continue to act the way that you act, and you still provide them the space. But at the end of the day, I don't like she said, you ain't got to tell them, oh, I still need proaction. No, it's just, hey, when they come to you, and this is where you allow them to basically continue to do that work. Hey, I noticed that since we apologize, you still feel this type of way. Well, I thank you for bringing that up. The reason I am still this kind of way is because your words, while they were thoughtful, you took time to get them out.
Right.
I still need to see action.
They're
So
not
until
in
then,
alignment. Right.
Yeah, or
yeah, I
when they do
appreciate
come
your
to
growth
you,
and journey.
when they do come to
That's
you,
it.
like
I
like
appreciate
like
your
Mike
journey.
said,
That's
when
it.
they do come to you in conversation, and over time, and you can say, "Wow, okay, I think she was sincere." Because at the end of the day, we can hear sincerity in another. You can hear it, right? It's literally
Feel it.
powerful. Like,
Feel
it's
it.
you can
You
hear
can
it.
feel it.
However, if she comes back to you and says, "Hey, I thought we had a really awesome conversation, and I thought we were moving forward." I would say I loved our conversation, and we're definitely moving forward. But I just really want you to understand that our our trust and our boundaries, like, they were shattered. And so I'm in the process of
Mhm.
rebuilding and getting into a comfortable space. So that's where we are. So I'm just not really comfortable moving boundaries yet. I will still love to talk to you, and as things progress, we'll see how it goes. But this is just kind of where I am right now.
So
And of course, she's
And
gonna
be
respond
right.
crazy.
Allison just brought up a
and
good point. Like, would a narcissist actually take ownership of being hurtful? But that's such a good point,
No,
though, because what happens is, what happened to me was,
yeah,
I got the apology, I got the tears, but then the
yeah,
minute things didn't go exactly back to the way they wanted, right?
yeah.
So like
and
no
the smack.
accountability, no work, no nothing. Then I caught all the fire again. It was right back to
Yeah.
the
So
yeah.
And
when you're dealing with a narcissist, so the way that you approach them is basically, unfortunately, you're gonna have to be very, like, lovingly abrupt. And what I mean when I say abrupt, I mean, when you set those boundaries, they are unmovable. If you flinch, if you blink for 1 second, they got you. Right?
Yeah.
They're gonna call your bluff, and you're
Mm-hmm.
never gonna gain access. So this is just specifically with a narcissist, because they're never wrong, right?
no,
You are
boo.
always the cause of it, and if you try to bring up anything that they've done to make them seem that they're out of their grandiose idea of themselves, then you are the enemy, and they cannot stand you. So, or basically confronting behavior, then they're gonna
Yeah.
have a problem with that. And
Yeah.
so, you're literally, like I said, with her, you're gonna have to stand on business.
Right.
Okay. You're gonna have to 3 minutes. And
Everybody.
I'm not kidding. And I'm totally not kidding.
Yeah.
3 minutes, you're not comfortable with her interacting with your kids, that's off the table. Right? Whether
Mm-hmm.
she calls or not, that is a personal choice, right?
Yep.
You're not making that choice for her, because you're not saying, "Hey, I'm not removing any access, you just have
Mm-hmm.
limited access." Okay? So if she chooses
Extremely.
not to use the access that she's granted,
Exactly.
that is a personal choice. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You got to heal, baby. You
Yeah.
have to heal. You got to make space.
Allison's point brings up another good point. We've talked about how like the word narcissist is very trendy right now, and I
Sure.
think people over diagnose by putting that tag on somebody. But like in lots of cases, people who are not trained can say somebody's a narcissist when in fact it can be they're bipolar, they have
Yeah, yeah.
personality disorder,
So
whatever.
I'm going to pull up.
Yeah.
So I have a book that we use in my practice called the DSM-5, right? So basically, it's a book that categorizes all mental health, psychological disorders. So I'm going to physically read to you how we diagnose a narcissist. So hold on, let me pull it up right now.
Is it longer
I
than
love
2 minutes?
Is it 2 minutes? What did you
Yeah.
Is it longer than two
Does
minutes?
she have a 2-minute time limit?
No, no, no.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
say? I was like, what happened? I was
I
like, who
think
the
this is going to be good because it's so trendy right now, right? And I know when we're talking in situations of no contact, 99% of the time, the person will tell me, "Yeah, I went no contact because they're such a narcissist." And I'm not saying that's not
What
the
does a
issue, right?
narcissist look
Right.
like?
I'm not saying that may not be the issue, but I think we're so quick to use that word because it's trendy when
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
could be so
Which
many
is,
other
which is,
situations. Like in my case, for example, I think there's a different underlying issue going on. So when people jump to narcissists, I kind of giggle because it's like the fail safe. It's like the default
Yeah.
yeah.
now because it's
I was called a narcissist once before. I don't know if I am or not. I don't know.
Well, just
Worked
wait.
on
We're
the
gonna go over it.
yeah, we're gonna go. I don't know if I fit that category, and if so, how do I fit it, and then how do I remove those
Oh my
traits?
gosh, somebody called you a
So,
narcissist?
the fact that
yeah,
you
can you
ask
believe
that,
that?
I don't think you're a narcissist. Narcissists are never open to
It
hearing
would
that
be like,
there's
that's not
something
me.
wrong
I
with
know
them.
I'm not a narcissist. What?
Yikes.
Oh no, but no, but it's like okay, really? Because I've heard it more than once, and I was like, I don't think you know what it is, but let's break it down. Because I'm like, I'm
But
telling you, I am sorry. Does that make me a narcissist?
well, and that's a
I
lot of
admit to
people
you,
use that term to describe anybody who doesn't do what they want them to do.
Yeah, that's the other.
that's
You're not
me.
falling
That's
in
a big one
alignment with what
too.
I want when I want it, and so you're a narcissist because you're focused on
You're
yourself.
such a manipulator. How am I manipulating you? I told you what it was up front.
Right.
Hold on one
You
second,
just don't
guys.
like the
Sorry.
rules.
But that
Mm,
goes, you guys mentioned, Erica mentioned being able to hear sincerity. And you talked
Yep.
about when you can hear it. But what about when you hear it, but the actions don't align? Because there are some people who sincerely want to change, but
Mhm.
because of trauma or mental health or whatever they have going on, they are literally, they don't have the tools or the resources or the capacity to make those changes in that time. And so, yes, it may be sincere, but they're still doing the same things that are like,
they need that changed behavior.
And
That
Eric
changed
right.
behavior for me is
And
crucial.
Erica's in Erica's thing, I'm gonna go with it, man. That's the Lord's way of just saying they just need time. So you can either be patient with them and they can be patient with
Yeah.
themselves because again,
Right.
for everybody, their journey is going to be different. How it
Right.
looks and
Now,
how it operates will be
are you
different.
speaking about like a narcissist?
Just in general, people,
Yeah, just
everybody's
in
Oh,
general.
healing
yeah,
journey is
yeah, yeah.
different.
Because
Because
I'm
it's
like,
like
if you're talking about somebody who has a psychological mental health disorder, they need medication.
Right.
Okay. Like they need Jesus, but they definitely need some medication. And so behavior is not going to change unless, here we go.
Right.
Unless, okay,
Yeah.
what is this?
There's some
669.
individual work
Okay.
done.
I
Well,
mean,
unless, like I said, you gotta sit there and say, okay, I legit have a problem. Like something is going on here and I need to figure out what's happening. All
Right.
right, here we go. 669.
medication isn't always this result for everybody.
So just
True.
so you know, Mike, I don't kick out medications to people, but so that's another misconception when people say that there's chemical imbalances. That's not a thing. And so, there's things going on with the brain. There's things going on with the brain where people need some okay, so prime example, like some people don't have a lot of serotonin, so the serotonin's not coming in, so they need medication to help kind of jumpstart the brain in that area to get the serotonin to kick in, right? And so
Isn't lack of
in
serotonin a chemical imbalance?
That's what I was thinking.
well, so it's, hold on one second, so it's 669. I'm like doing like five things at once, hold on. So it's not a, like they say it's a chemical imbalance. So like we don't call it a chemical imbalance. Like we don't call it it's a hormone.
Yeah.
So it's a hormone. And so we just say like the hormones are not like
Right.
operating. Yeah. So we don't say like it's not like, hold on, 669. Okay, there we go. Sorry guys, I'm like rolling through this like really fast and rolling right past it. All right, here we go. There we go.
For me, the actions speak louder than words has become so, because I try to take away lessons I learned from every aspect of this situation and apply them to my kids. So now
Sure.
when my kids say I'm sorry, I tell them I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate the apology, but the
Mm-hmm.
real apology is let's try to work on it together and let's change our
Yep.
behavior, because I want them to learn now
Yeah.
from a young age that I appreciate your words and I
None of
appreciate you
listen.
thinking about what you did and acknowledging it. Now what can we
Yeah.
do to move forward so that we don't do this again? Because change behavior is the biggest apology, right? That's where it
Yeah.
means
Yeah.
the most. And so I've been really
Yeah.
working on trying really hard to just take away, even when I feel really just having a bad day and feeling really bad about the situation in general, I try to take those lessons and teach my kids, healthy communication and healthy apologies and boundaries, even with me, so that they can communicate their boundaries to me effectively and safely and respectfully so that I can abide by them too. So just trying to break generational curses. We talked about that
Yeah.
before, and making sure that this cycle has nowhere to repeat ever again.
Well, I think you're doing a really good job doing that, because at the end of the day, like you're acknowledging that there's some stuff going on that needs to take place.
Yeah.
And so that's like I said, that's the first step. So, um, you know, whatever your mom, or your family members or whoever has going on, like you honing in on, your part of the breakdown and like, what can I do to better the situation? That's the first step. That's the first step to really like getting to the bottom of it. Okay, guys, can you see me?
Yep.
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, no, I didn't know if you could or not.
I was
Okay,
like,
so
wait, I'm
I
not
I
sure.
just
Is that a
no,
trick
all right.
question?
So I have the no, I can't see you because I'm looking at the DSM-5. So I have the narcissistic personality pulled up. So I'm going to read to you what a therapist looks for when they're diagnosing someone who has this. You ready?
Yep, go for
Mhm.
it.
Okay. All right. So it's it's called a diagnostic criteria, right? So number one, it's gonna say has a grandiose sense of self-importance, exaggerates achievements or talents, expects to be recognized as a superior without any type of achievements,
Oh, I
is
know somebody like that. Keep
is
going.
preoccupied is preoccupied with fantasies and unlimited access to power, brilliance, beauty, and an ideal of love, right? Three, believes that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or should be associated with others who are special or people who are like of high stature, right? Like so basically like celebrities or somebody important. um, Requires excessive admiration. So they always want you to give them praise or to make them look good or never to belittle them or to point out faults. Has a sense of entitlement, unrealistic or unreasonable expectations, especially favorable treatment to the automatic compliance. So they want you to basically comply with them no matter what. So they could spit in your face and they still want you to do what they say.
Yep.
Does that make
Yep.
sense? Okay. Okay, so let me go on. Interpersonality. So they have like takes advantage of others to achieve their own goals. So I don't know, this could be like, oh, I wanna buy something, such and such has the money. Let me manipulate them so they can give me this money so I can buy X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
Okay. Lack of empathy. Is unwilling to recognize or identify their feelings and needs of others or their feelings. Um, is
Shocking.
often is often envious of others and believes that others are envious of them. And
Ooh.
shows arrogance, haughtiness, behaviors, or attitudes. So they're very aggressive.
So I have two questions.
Oh,
My first question is, are those behaviors in general, or aren't they in a narcissistic situation? The trend right now says that it's usually targeted. They have a target, like a focus that they zero in all of those behaviors on, or is it just in general?
So so in general, right? But when they focus, it's who they want to focus on.
Right.
So a narcissist will pick someone to focus on. So remember we talked about the blood in the water,
Right.
right? So so when they smell blood,
Mhm.
they're gonna they're gonna focus on you,
And
right?
out of all of those criteria, does a narcissist have to meet every single one, or is it a majority, or what's the cap?
So right. So that's a great question because that's exactly what we look for. So we normally look for like maybe three or four out of the ones that we listed. And a lot of times it might be like a co-occurring. So when we say co-occurring, there might be another diagnosis going on. So it's like another personality disorder going on. So it might be a narcissism with I don't
I
know,
know somebody that fits all of
bipolar disorder.
Right.
Bipolar disorder. So they have two things going on at
Mhm.
one time, or they might have
those.
antisocial disorder, where they're like they have apathy, like they have
Right.
no feelings for anybody at all. So they could like, I don't know, stab you in the hand and be
Go
like,
eat lunch.
"Oh, yeah, you know what? That made me hungry. Let me go do that." But like a lot of these, respectfully, like a lot of these shooters, shooting up these places, they have antisocial disorder. Like they have no feeling. They have nothing going on upstairs, that connects them to their emotions. So when you're looking at a narcissist, those are the like foundational things. So if you're sitting down in my seat and I pull out like, an assessment, those are the things I'm going to look for, but I'm also going to look for co-occurring things like I said, like the bipolar, or if somebody might have that, and then they might have some like, some, I don't know,
I need your
some
contact
hallucinations or
information.
something going on.
I need your business card.
What you say?
I need to refer someone to you ASAP because baby, let me tell you,
Is it that?
let me tell you,
Yeah, so
let me
So
tell
so
you.
that's what that
we talked about some ways to like take your power back, but when we talk
yeah.
about like being the victim of a person, in these situations, whether it's a narcissist or somebody with bipolar disorder or any of those things, but in a situation where you have to go no contact in general,
Yeah.
what are
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
ways or what are some things that should that person focus in on, or some ways, things that they can do to kind of start that self-healing process and kind
Mhm.
of walk
Okay, so
themselves through
say
that?
that again. So
So,
say the
so
question
as the
for me.
person who is on the receiving end of like the narcissism or the bipolar disorder, like,
Okay.
right, or the person who has gone no contact, right? There's a healing process that has to happen. So, what are some things that uh, they should do in order to start that process and kind of walk through it? Because there's a ton of emotions that go along
Yeah.
with that people don't
Yeah.
recognize.
So the first thing I would say is to, and we discussed it a little bit earlier, is to acknowledge your emotions, because a lot of times people suppress them.
Mhm.
Um, Emotions are godly; they're God given, and so they need to be, allowed space to, to feel and to be, right. So I tell people when they're coming, the no contact, or they're creating space for their healing, you need to be able to process. It's like grief, right? There's 5 stages of that, so you need to be able to set space aside for each stage, right? And so there could be, you're doing no contact, my mother violated, or my brother violated, or whatever. I need space. My goodness, I need to heal. Okay, so that's, let me just deal with the fact that I'm angry, for me. So I'll just use myself as an example. I'll go in prayer, right? Prayer is huge for me. And I say, God, I'm mad, like, and I don't want to forgive that person. Be honest with how you feel,
Mhm.
I know that you want me to, God, but I don't want to, and so I don't, I'm just laying that before you. Be astronomically honest with yourself about how you're feeling in the space. And what you'll find is, as you allow those emotions to roll through, they'll start to filter out, right? And it'll be less, and then you'll move into another emotion. So it might be, I'm angry right now. So the next might be, you know what? I'm angry because this person did this. I'm angry because I let them do this. The next emotion might be sadness. I'm just like, I can't believe that this happened to me. It might be a little bit of like self-pity going on there, or whatever
Yeah.
the case, right? But you have to allow yourself space to process that. And then you move into the next space. So like what I'm inherently saying is that it processes through on its own. The only thing that's stopping that from happening is us. So when we suppress and sit on it, and we don't, I tell my
Mhm.
clients, it's like putting your hand over your mouth when you have to throw up, right? You're not letting it out. You're holding it in. And so that
Yeah.
destroys your insides, right? It's
Yeah,
literally
it's an awful tasting thing too. Yeah. I've done it too many times. Oh my god.
I'm gonna need you not to share that with
Thank
nobody but
you.
Jesus,
Yes,
okay?
please.
Thank you.
Yeah. Inside thoughts. Remember inside thoughts?
Yeah. Oh god.
Yeah,
I
but
taste it.
as
Are
long
you
as,
reliving it over there?
right?
Yeah.
I feel like I am a little bit. It's like, oh god. You shouldn't have. Oh god, the way she brought it up, it's like,
Erica,
ooh,
please continue. Please
Yeah.
continue.
That's a
please.
really good point. I never really thought about it that way, but that's a really
Yeah,
good point.
it's literally like, it's like that, and you have to think about, and then think about not dealing with how you're feeling, how that wreaks havoc on the body, right? So
Mhm.
remember I
Yeah.
talked about when people deal with trauma, it disrupts their autonomic nervous system, right? So, and their cognitive system, so that interrupts their language, how they think, how they process information. It interrupts their emotions. So you could literally be experiencing something outside of that trauma, and you're not even regulating the proper emotion in the space,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because you are so boggled down by what you're not letting out, that you're not even, literally, your body's not even responding. I tell people all the time, you can say whatever you want, your body's going to respond. God made it that way. You're going to, when you're happy, your eyes dilate, especially when you're looking at somebody that you love. When you're excited, your heart beats fast. It's not anything that you can control,
Right.
right? So when you're stressed out, your stomach, your gut is like
Yeah.
wreaking havoc, right? You're getting headaches, you can't sleep, right? You're getting insomnia, or whatever the case may be. Your hair might fall out. You know what I'm saying? Your
Yep.
body is going to tell you, we have to expel this, but you don't listen. We don't listen to it. You
Symptoms
got
are
to
an indicator.
right?
You gotta listen to it, especially when your hair starts falling out. I'm just saying.
Last week you told us that was self-care.
Which one
Make
is
up
it?
your mind.
Right.
Is that self-care or stress? Come on.
So does that
How,
help, Reese?
it does. How do you,
It does.
what is the problem? Like, okay, so we talked about this before, but this is a
Yeah.
good thing I want to bring up on the air. It's just,
Yeah.
we talked about when people, how frustrating it is when people tell you, you have to just forgive and forget, or forgive
Yeah.
and let go, or you have to forgive. Like,
Yeah.
we talked about the how, right? What is the how? Like, what's step one? Like, I know feeling the feels, right?
Yeah.
You have to go through that mourning
Mhm.
process, but then
Yeah.
how do you start to finally grow out of that situation, or to forgive from that situation? Maybe not forgive that person, because for me, forgiveness didn't mean having to tell them I forgave them just so I could move on,
Yeah.
and I was good with that. But how do you walk us through that process?
So again, it's gonna look different for everybody. Like I said, the first thing is to just make the decision that you want to forgive, right?
Yeah.
The second is understanding that forgiveness is an action word. So that is a thing that you're going to have to literally get up every morning and put forth effort and energy to do, right?
It's
And
hard.
I
Yeah.
know it is. I know it is. And so, but like I said, God gives us the grace, God gives us the strength to forgive if that's in fact what we want to do. Because I think the cool thing about forgiveness in everyone's life, and especially before the Lord, is that when you intentionally and really want to forgive, God really gives you the strength to do it. I think people fail to forgive when they try to sideways forgive on their own. And what I mean by that is you try to do it with your own strength. Sometimes the offense is so vile and it's so deep that it,
Yeah.
it literally breaks your spirit. God says, who can bear a broken spirit? That means nobody can literally bear it. It's too hard, right? And so sometimes the offense is that deep where you literally have to ask God, I want to do this, but I literally don't have the strength to do it. I have no way. So there's that. So that component of it, right? Um, Again, the process, and that's why I was bringing up boundaries, Reese, because that's part of it, right? It's getting up every so I'll just, again, I'll use myself as an example. So I was working through something with a family member, and I had to literally make the choice that I wanted to do that I wanted to forgive. And so God showed me that is something that you're going to have to wake up and decide to do every single day, right? And so this is what that's going to look like. So I'm going to have to leave space for them. I'm going to have to know that me forgiving and me moving forward does not mean that in order for me to forgive, they need to apologize first,
Right.
right? Or that they feel like what they did to me was wrong, because they're 9 times out of 10 not going to feel that way,
Right.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I need to understand that forgiving them is like, basically removing the bondage and the chains that they've placed upon me, or that I place on myself, to be honest, right? um and then there's this quote, I wrote it down because it rocked me when I read it. It made me cry, like when I was going through the process, but I wanted to share it with you. So it says, it's by Kenry Fasten, and it says, when you forgive someone in some way, when you don't forgive someone in some way, that in some way the person is in jail and you are the warden, right? You are incarcerated too,
Mhm.
because you have to make sure that the prisoner stays there. So
Yep.
just like you put them in jail, you're the warden, and
Right
you have to
along with
make sure
them.
that they stay in jail
Mhm.
in your mind, right? So
Right.
you're making yourself a prisoner, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't want to do that, right? I
Yeah.
don't I don't want to I don't want to have somebody at the mercy of my unforgiveness, right?
Right.
So what does that look like? That looks like leaving space, boundary, box, right?
Mhm.
That means each time that I talk to them, and that's why I said earlier, you have to be real with yourself. You're going to have bad days. You might cuss them out one day. You might, right? But you get up the next morning by the grace and mercy of God, and you try it again. You
Mhm.
try it
Yeah.
again, right? And you show up a little bit better, and I promise you it will get a little bit easier. But until that space, until you get there, yes, put them in a box.
That's what I was laughing about. Allison.
I'm with her though. I'm that person. I did go through the process of forgetting, and Allison, I feel you on that. I put them in the box because for me, I wasn't able to forgive, but the way I was able to do that finally working through therapy was
Yeah.
that I had to understand that I like your quote because it's similar.
Yeah.
That I was giving them free room and board in my brain.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
was
You are.
giving them space on purpose, whether
But
I
you're
wanted
also
to
giving them
acknowledge it or
you're giving them
not.
energy. You're
Yeah,
giving them your
whether I wanted to
energy.
acknowledge it or not, I kept them there.
Yep.
So, but instead of letting it go, I held it there. And so it had nothing to do but fester inside of me because
Yeah.
I was the one holding it.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't about forgiveness in the sense of, I forgive you and I want you to go on and I want you to. No, I
No.
became, listen, I don't wish you well, but I don't wish you harm.
Right.
I'm good. I'm okay. I don't need you here anymore. And you can exist or not exist, and it doesn't bother me anymore because you no longer hold any space or any energy within me anymore. I'm freeing myself. And I'm going to break that bond. I'm not going to care what your choices are your choices. I don't wish you harm, but I don't wish you well. I just don't care. But I am now
So
releasing
let
that
me give
energy.
you let me give you some perspective. So when you say you don't wish anybody well, right? So say
Mhm.
let's move this
You're in
person.
trouble.
Mhm.
Probably.
So let's move.
You're in
So,
trouble
so let's
now.
move off of the topic
Yeah.
of your family.
Mhm.
Okay. So I know you, right? And I also know that you do not wish people well, right?
Right.
Your
Mhm.
your natural inherent posture is to wish people well, right?
Mhm.
So what I'm trying to help you identify is that is still a form of unforgiveness that you're moving in.
Yep.
That is not, it's still room and board up here. You
Yep.
feel me? And so when you inherently want to say I forgive you, right? And I really want to move on with my life. That literally means, because I tell people, if I have a client that comes to my office and I ask them a question and they give me a visceral response or respond the way that you responded to just
Mhm.
Yeah.
that inherently tells me that you are still in a
Holding on.
space where you're holding on. There's still some anger there. There's
Yeah.
still some unresolved feelings that you're working through. That's why I said
Mhm.
be completely totally
I
honest.
I disagree because in this situation, I'm not talking about her, but in this situation, I mean, that's something I had to let go years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
For me, and I don't. You're right. I'm not the type of person to not wish somebody well. Whether you did me wrong or not, I will always wish you the best, and I would actually wish that whatever you did to me never happens to you. That's the kind of person I am. But in these two instances, it became more of a I don't know you. And who I thought you were, you aren't. So that for me is if I don't know you, you don't exist to me. So I can't wish you either way. I
So
just don't care.
so let me say this. So let me say this to you really quickly. So regardless, right? Regardless
Mhm.
of it is, if you are operating out of your natural way that you respond to another human being, you are operating in unforgiveness. And so
Mhm.
it doesn't matter if it's a parent or a friend or whoever, if there is something that happened between the two of you where, like you said, yo, you was bobbing and weaving, like, I don't even know you, my guy. Like, what are you doing? Right, what are you doing? Right. And so you literally are like, wow, I do not know you, right? I don't want you, because I don't want you to play this mental like hula hoop game with yourself where you're
Yeah.
like, no, not here, but over here, yeah, it's gonna work over here. I don't
Right.
want you to play with yourself. I want you to be very
Mm.
authentic with yourself. And if you are operating in any other way outside of the normal way that you interact with another human being, and I know you, Reese, okay,
Yeah.
then you're
You're in
operating in
trouble.
you're operating in unforgiveness. And I
Mhm.
love you, but I'm gonna lovingly rebuke you. I want you to know that. I want you to know that. Okay, no,
You
but
messed up when you said, "I don't wish you well." You should have just said, "I wish you well."
Yeah, but I
Goodbye.
just no.
That's
I'm gonna
what,
be
when you
honest. You
said,
know
"I
me.
don't
I'm
wish
always
you
gonna.
well," I saw her face.
I'm gonna be
I saw
honest
her
about
face,
it.
and I was just like, "You in trouble."
No, I
no,
mean
no,
She gonna
listen,
tell God
that's
on
a
you.
no,
good perspective. She gave
not
me a good
not in
perspective, but
trouble.
I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest. Like
No,
that's
she
how
and
I
I want
felt.
Yeah.
and
I
so
just
this is
don't
but
care.
this is how you heal,
Yeah.
right? This
Right.
is how you heal. I want her to be honest, but this is how you heal. And so
Right.
that's another thing. Talking to other people with different perspectives will help you to identify a lot of different things going on with you that you may not see, right?
Right.
And so,
Very
I,
much.
I tell people all the time, put a mirror, put a mirror, i.e. another person up, and have had that hard conversation with them, and just listen to their perspective,
Mhm.
because a lot of times people can hear what you can't hear. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so I just want you to, or everybody, to operate in the most authentic space that they have. And so when you're operating outside of your norm, then that's a form of unforgiveness, or that's a form of like some
Mhm.
type of trauma that you're kind of, navigating in, if that makes
I
sense.
need a sound booth.
And that's
Ding
one of the things,
dong.
like Reese, you were talking about your justification for it was that you don't know this person and so you don't care. But if you think about it, if you were to pass a homeless person on the street, you don't know them, but do you care about what happens to them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you can't say that there's not
That's a
And you
great,
something
want them to,
still
and you
yes,
wish
it's a
them
great
well.
part, Jen.
right.
And
Yeah.
you wish them well, the complete stranger wishing them well.
Right.
In the sense of forgiving, actual forgiveness, though, is easier said, and it's
Totally.
very easy to speak it,
Totally.
and but it comes with a great deal of work,
It is.
and it's gonna and you're gonna feel like it's eating away at your soul. You're gonna feel like it's taking you out of who you are as a person, and you're not being your true self. No, that's just your
But
mind trying to
my,
get you to be
can I tell
that
you
that
why it
that
feels like
income.
that? It feels like
Why?
that because the root of unforgiveness, it takes root, right? And so God
Yeah,
says, I will uproot everything that I did not plant, meaning everything that's inside of you that I did not put there, I'm going to rip it out. And so if you ever seen a root being uprooted,
yeah,
it's torn up, right? And so
yeah.
it's torn up. So when something is being removed from you, emotions, especially resentment or unforgiveness, and that thing is deep down in there, bitterness deep down in there,
All
it's
that
it's
it's going,
literally you're going to have a physical response to that
yeah.
uprooting, right?
Yeah.
And it's not going to feel good because it's
Yeah.
it's been there for so long. You know what I mean? So I don't want you to, that's why I said forgiveness. Mike was right. Like, it's every single day you got to make that choice, and it's going to
Mhm.
be gut wrenching, but if you
When it
dedicate yourself
hurts,
to do the work, yeah, if
yeah.
you dedicate
When
yourself
it
to do,
hurts,
let me
it's
tell you
like
something.
taking it's like a little kid. We always force them to take their medicine, and we know it tastes awful. We know it tastes awful,
But they're going
but
to feel
it's
so much
gonna make
better.
them feel better.
Yeah.
And forgiveness is exactly the same thing.
It's just one day at a time.
It hurts. It's awful. It tastes
Yeah.
bad. It feels bad. But that's when you know it's actually in the process of working.
Yeah,
Because then it
it's
just
just
doesn't feel bad
it's
anymore. You feel better. You feel
yeah, but you
lighthearted.
just have to commit to it. Just say, you know what, whatever this is going to look like, I'm going to be a better person for this, and I'm going to love better, because when I get finished with this, I'm going to be a better wife, a better mother, a better
Yeah.
brother or sister
Or
or
just a better
daughter,
human
Better
being.
whatever.
human.
Yeah.
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 You
Just a
know,
better person in
just commit
general.
to it
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, because and to everybody that's listening out there, it is going to be hard, and I know exactly how that feeling is, and I'm telling
Yeah.
you, you lean in on the uncomfortable feelings, because that is what's going to make you a better person.
Yeah.
If you want to remain, if you want to basically stay the same and not progress mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, remain in that comfortable zone. The uncomfortability of growing is just that, is
Yeah.
taking in that nasty medicine, and but it's only for growth though, because you got to realize it's going to make you better.
Yeah.
I think
So,
it's important to, as we come to a close, to talk about how healthy boundaries are okay
Yeah.
and self preservation is okay. And it's not something that you should feel ashamed of or regretful of. In my
exactly.
journey, I had a lot of people try to shift blame and try to make me feel bad for my choices. Um,
No.
but honestly, it was the best choice I could have ever made for me and my kids. I wouldn't change it. I'm still healing and growing through. We joke a lot because on the show, I say a lot, I am healing, I am not healed. So I have my moments, but I'm
No.
proud of that. I'm proud that my kids will never have to suffer those things, and that I'm acknowledging all of them now
Yeah.
and the trauma it's inflicted on me so that I never inflict that on them. I'm not going to
Yeah.
be a perfect mom and I'm going to make mistakes. But I give myself grace with that. So as long as I give myself grace, I know that I can apologize to my kids and make it right and give them something that I never had, the
Yeah.
acknowledgement, you know?
Yeah.
So anybody else going through that, I want to say that. And it's important. It's important to know that other people are going through what you're going through and that you do come out on the other side. And it is a journey and you'll be better for it when it's over.
Mhm.
When you
Thank
look back at it, you
you.
may smile and laugh and even cry a little bit, but it's a part of the process.
It is part of the process.
And you'll be so proud of yourself.
Yeah. Thank you.
So with that being said, this was a phenomenal episode, y'all. I barely said anything. She was saying all the things that were going through my head, and I was just like,
I'm
"Yep,
sorry.
Mm.
This was an amazing episode.
no,
Yes.
it was fantastic."
Good.
And I really do appreciate all of the perspective. And so, with that being
Oh, you're
said, in our
welcome.
last not even minute, because we're already at the time, but
Yeah.
what are some last minute thoughts or guidance that we have for people who are navigating this, no contact decision?
I would say love yourself, honor yourself. I would say if no contact is what you need, honor yourself and just do what you need to do. But give your time, don't let it be no contact and no healing. Like,
Right.
if you're not going to be speaking to them, be working on yourself. Really get into a space of, you know what, I need to take my power back. I need to be able to control how I interact and respond to another person at the deepest level of my hurt. So, whether that's therapy, whether that's, whatever you need to do what you need to do to heal. Do
Mhm.
what you need to do to heal.
Thank
For
you.
me, I'm going to say everyone is who they are as you see them, expecting them to be something that they're not. While we all want the best for people, and that's nice, but accept the person for who they are, act accordingly, and remember to keep your mind, your soul, and energy pure and clean in those processes, because you're only gonna lose continuing to take the abuse from people that you expect the best from them. See them for who they are, expect them, and act accordingly. That you don't have to throw everybody away, but now you know, and you're only gonna do yourself harm by ignoring what you know, in the sake of the possibilities.
Thank you.
So,
Reese, I know you said a little bit before. I'm not sure if you wanted to piggyback off of that.
I said my
Okay.
piece. All you.
Okay. Awesome. Y'all, I don't have any words. Like
the first time
none. They
on
have
the
all
podcast,
been
ladies and
said, and I'm
gentlemen,
just like, whew, this is great. Okay.
she's so quiet.
So
She's so quiet.
I am. I just fantastic. So with that being said, thank you so much, Erica, for
Oh,
coming
you're
and leaning
welcome.
in
Thank
with
you
us.
for coming.
Yes, and
Thank
that
you
brings
for
us to the end of another fantastic episode. And remember, as always, that our goal is not to dictate conclusions. We're not telling you what to think or to feel, but to
Yeah.
encourage self-reflection and open, honest dialogue to help us to better understand ourselves, the world around us, but most importantly, ourselves.
Yes.
So we invite you to keep the conversation going, like, share, subscribe, comment below, all of the wonderful social media things. We love to hear your stories. We love to hear your perspective, your ideas. And thank you all for leaning in with us. Allison, thank you for your commentary. Really appreciate you as well.
Yes.
And thank you for going beyond the sum of our parts. Until next time, bye.
Great
Bye.
night, everybody.
Yo, Eric, I just realized your name sounds like chocolate.
Chocolate.
Like it'd be like a really good chocolate, the last name.
Did we go out yet?
We didn't. That was all.
Oh.
That was all on there. All right. Bye.
Bye.